I did not wear my wedding ring on my finger. It lay in a small linen pouch tied with a red thread. I kept that pouch with me, under my belt, in the folds of my cloak, sometimes beside the wax tablets where I counted other people's debts. Foolish, perhaps. Titus had divorced me almost a year earlier. He sent a tablet with dry words, as if he had not erased 10 years of life, but simply cancelled an order of spoiled oil. Junia, return to your father's house. Our marriage is over. But I no longer had a father's house to return to. My father had died 3 winters before. His little shop had long since passed into other hands, and all I had was a small room above a dyer's workshop. It smelled of wet wool, lamp smoke, and loneliness. I worked as a copyist for merchants. I counted amphorae, recorded debts, checked the names of debtors. Men laughed and said my eye was sharper than a tax collector's. They did not know that other people's accounts were easier to count than my own losses. That morning, I was copying a list of olive oil for a merchant from the forum when someone knocked downstairs. Not for me. People rarely came for me. But the boy from the workshop called up, "Junia, someone is asking for you." I went down. An old enslaved servant in a grey tunic stood at the threshold. I recognized him at once. Felix. He had served in my mother-in-law's house for as many years as I had known that city. In his hands he held a wax tablet. "Mistress Cornelia asks you to come today," he said. I did not take the tablet right away. A year. For an entire year, Cornelia Severa had not sent me a single word. She had not come to me after the divorce. She had not sent bread, had not asked where I was living, had not called me back. I told myself it was only natural. A mother will always choose her son even when her son is wrong. But knowing that did not make it hurt less. "Why?" I asked. Felix lowered his eyes. "She said it is a family matter." A family matter. I almost laughed. What family was I now? I went back up to my room, sat on the edge of the low couch, and stared at the tablet for a long time. The letters had been carved by her hand, even, stern. I had seen that handwriting so many times on household lists. How much flour to buy, who should receive the wool, whom to invite for supper. "Junia, come before sunset. I must give you something that cannot wait." Cannot wait. I placed my hand over the little pouch that held my ring, and I went. Cornelia's house stood on a quiet street not far from the baths. Once I had entered it without knocking. Once I knew which paving stone in the courtyard rocked underfoot, where the serving girls hid sweet dates, and which room caught the warmest light in the morning. I had lived there for 10 years. There I learned to bake honey cakes because Cornelia used to say, "You can feed a husband almost anything, but a home is held together by the warmth a woman knows how to give." She was not gentle, no. Cornelia could silence an entire room with one look. But from the first day, she treated me as if I were not the poor daughter of a copyist, but an honored guest. When Titus first brought me to meet her, I was trembling so badly I nearly dropped the cup in my hands. Cornelia looked at me, then at her son, and said, "If you chose her, then seat her at the table. Women in this house do not stand on the threshold." I nearly cried from relief. Then came the years. Good years. Not perfect ones, no. Titus and I quarrelled. He was quick-tempered, lazy with business, and far too fond of being admired. But I loved him. And Cornelia became more to me than a mother-in-law. She chose my wedding veil with me. She gave me my first earrings. She sat by my bed when fever took me. She scolded Titus when he came home late with wine on his breath. "This house is not a tavern," she would tell him. "And a wife is not a thing you put in the corner when you are done looking at it." I thought she would always be on my side. Then Livia Rufa appeared, a young widow of an incense merchant. Her skin smelled of myrrh. Her voice turned sweet when men were near and flat when they were not. At first, Titus merely bought oils from her. Then he began staying late with suppliers. Then, one day, he came home with another woman's scent on his cloak. I kept silent for a long time, too long. When I finally asked him directly, he did not even deny it. He only dragged a tired hand over his face and said, "Junia, we have both been unhappy for a long time." Just like that. Not, "I was wrong," not, "forgive me," but, "we." A month later, the divorce tablet arrived. I left Cornelia's house with one chest. I took my clothes, my tablets, a few of my father's books, and the cup with the blue rim that my mother-in-law had once called mine. It took me 3 days to remove the ring, but I could not throw it away. At the gate of Cornelia's house, I stopped. Ivy still grew along the walls. 2 large amphorae stood by the entrance. One was cracked at the neck, but it had not been removed. Cornelia never liked throwing away things that could still serve. Felix opened the door. "The mistress is waiting in the atrium." I entered, and at once I saw something that made my heart tighten painfully. On the wall near the household shrine, the small board with our wedding wreath still hung, dried, darkened, almost falling apart. I had thought Cornelia would have ordered it taken down long ago. She had not. The house had not changed. The same cool floor, the same scent of laurel, oil, and old wood. The same marble table beside the rainwater pool. Only I was different. Cornelia sat by the window. She had aged sharply. Her hair had turned almost white. Her face had grown thinner. But her back was still straight, and her eyes were still clear, as if age could take her strength but not her authority. "You came," she said. Not "hello," not "how are you," simply a statement. "You sent for me." She nodded to Felix and he left. We were alone. "Sit, Junia." I sat on the edge of the bench. Once I had sprawled there freely, tucked my feet beneath me, laughed, argued with her about the price of wool. Now I sat like a stranger. Cornelia noticed. Of course she noticed. "You have lost weight." "I work a great deal." Work does not thin a woman the way pain does. I lowered my eyes. She did not come to embrace me. She did not pat my hand. Cornelia never knew how to comfort quickly. She always looked straight at the wound first. "I thought you had forgotten me," I said. My voice came out softer than I wanted. "No, but you were silent." "Yes." "Why?" For a long while Cornelia looked at her hands. Dry hands, veined and narrow. Those hands had once braided my hair before festivals. "Because I am an old fool," she said at last. I lifted my head. "What?" "You heard me." She gave a small smile, but there was no joy in it. I decided I would not interfere. My son was grown, you were grown, a marriage had broken. So each of you would carry your own share. Then I understood that silence is a choice too, and mine was cowardly. I did not know what to say. Cornelia rose, slowly but without help. She walked to the large cedar chest against the wall, opened it, and took out a smaller casket. I knew it. Dark wood, copper corners, a pomegranate branch carved into the lid. I had seen that casket only twice, on my wedding day and on Matronalia, when Cornelia showed me the women's jewelry of the family. "Come here," she said. I stepped to the table. She placed the casket between us and opened it. Inside lay jewelry, gold earrings with tiny pearls, amber beads, a delicate leaf-shaped brooch, a silver chain, and a ring with a small blue stone, clear as the morning sky over the sea. I remembered that ring. Cornelia wore it on days when she received guests. She said it had belonged to her mother's mother. "Why are you showing me this?" I asked. "I am not showing it to you. I am giving it to you." I stepped back. "No." "Yes." "Cornelia, I am no longer Titus's wife." She snapped the lid shut under her palm. "You were my daughter-in-law for 10 years. You ate at this table, fell ill in this house, celebrated festivals with me, buried my husband with me. You did not vanish because my son decided to run after the scent of another woman's perfume." My throat closed. "But this belongs to the family." "Exactly." She pushed the casket toward me. "These pieces go to the woman of the house, not to the one who laughs the loudest beside a man, not to the one who arrived to borrow a ready-made name, to the woman who is part of this family." I shook my head. "Livia is with him now." Cornelia looked at me in a way that almost made me pity Livia. "Livia is with him today. Tomorrow she will be with another man if he brings more silver. I will not give her my mother's earrings." "And if Titus demands them?" "He already has." I froze. "When?" "A week ago. He said Livia needed to appear properly at Alias's dinner. I asked him, properly as what? He took offense." This time I could not help almost smiling. Cornelia noticed. Something alive moved at the corner of her mouth too. "He is your son," I said. "Unfortunately, that does not make him wise." I sank onto the bench. My legs suddenly felt weak. "I thought you had chosen him." "I gave birth to him. That is not the same thing." We fell silent. In the courtyard, water dripped from the small fountain. Somewhere beyond the wall, a serving girl dropped the lid of a jug and then went quiet in alarm. Cornelia opened the casket again and took out the silver chain. "Do you have the ring with you?" I flinched. "How did you know?" "Because I am a woman too." Slowly, I untied the pouch and tipped my wedding ring into my palm. It was simple, bronze darkened with time. Titus had chosen it himself from a craftsman at the forum. Back then he had been so proud, as though he had given me a palace. I placed the ring on the table. I do not know what to do with it. Cornelia picked it up with 2 fingers. It no longer belongs on your finger. But it should not be thrown into the dust either. Those 10 years existed. There was good in them too, Junia. Those words made my eyes sting, because for a whole year I had tried to convince myself that everything had been a lie. It was easier that way. Easier to be angry. Easier not to miss him. Easier not to remember how Titus laughed in the mornings, how he brought me pomegranates, how he fell asleep with his hand on my shoulder. But they had been good. And somehow that did not make the pain smaller. It made it deeper. Cornelia slipped my ring onto the chain and held it out to me. Let it be a memory, not a chain. I took it. My fingers trembled. Then she lifted the ring with the blue stone. And this is yours. No, I cannot. You can. Cornelia, Junia. She said my name in a tone that made me fall silent. My son divorced his wife. I did not divorce my daughter. That was when I broke. Not gracefully, not quietly. I simply covered my face with my hands like a girl and cried as if I had been holding water inside my chest for a year and the dam had finally given way. Cornelia came to me and held me. She smelled of laurel, wool, and home. Forgive me, she said into my hair. I should have come sooner. I thought you had abandoned me. I know. I thought it every day. I know. I was so ashamed, as if I had not been good enough. Cornelia drew back and took me by the shoulders. Look at me. I looked. You were not the one who was not good enough. My son was the one not grown enough to protect what had been entrusted to him. I cried again. At that moment, footsteps sounded near the door. Felix appeared in the atrium, paler than usual. Mistress, Titus has come. Cornelia did not even turn. Alone? No, with Livia Rufa. Everything inside me clenched. I wanted to stand, hide, slip out through the side door. Ridiculous. I was not a child. I was 37 years old, a grown woman, and yet I felt like a girl caught where she did not belong. Cornelia laid her palm on the casket. Let him enter. She can wait at the door. Titus came in almost at once. Handsome, still handsome, in a new tunic, clean shaven, wearing that confident expression that once made my knees weaken. Only now I saw something else. Tiredness, irritation, a softness in the eyes that was not kindness but uncertainty. He saw me and stopped. Junia? I said nothing. Mother, what is she doing here? Cornelia lifted an eyebrow. Sitting in my house. Why? Because I invited her. Titus noticed the open casket. His face changed. So that is why. He stepped closer. Mother, we already discussed this. Livia needs jewelry for Elias's dinner tomorrow. I remember. Then why is the casket open in front of her? Cornelia stood. She was shorter than Titus, older, weaker in body, but in that moment he seemed like a boy. Because I am giving the jewelry to Junia. What? You heard me. Titus looked at me. Something unpleasant flashed through his eyes. Not love, not regret, more like annoyance, as if I had once again appeared where I was inconvenient. She is not my wife anymore. And the jewelry is not yours. It is family property. Women's family property, Cornelia cut in. You will inherit the walls if you do not gamble them away first. What the women of this house pass down, I will give to the woman I find worthy. Titus went pale. Livia will be insulted. We shall survive. People will talk. People already talk. He pressed his lips together. For the first time in a long while, I saw him not as my husband, not as my loss, not as my wound, but simply as a man, weak, vain, used to the women around him yielding. And suddenly, breathing became a little easier. Junia, he said, turning to me, you must understand this is strange. I ran my finger over the chain where my old ring now hung. What was strange was receiving a divorce tablet through a servant. He looked away. Cornelia said quietly, Go, Titus. Today, you are the one out of place here. He wanted to answer, I could see it, but he found no words. He turned and left. Beyond the door, a woman's voice sounded, sharp and displeased. Then their footsteps moved away. I sat motionless. Cornelia closed her eyes for a moment, as if it hurt her too. Then she opened them and said calmly, Now, where were we? And she placed the ring with the blue stone on my finger. It fit perfectly. For some reason, that finished me completely. That evening I stayed for supper. There was no great feast, only warm stew, bread, olives, and honey cakes, the same kind Cornelia had taught me to bake in the first year of my marriage. Do you remember, she asked, when you used salt instead of flour? I mixed up the sacks. You ruined all the dough. And you told Titus it was meant to taste that way. Cornelia snorted. Because he ate 3 and praised them. It would have been cruel to deprive him of such foolish happiness. We laughed. Cautiously at first, then truly. I had not laughed like that in that house for a long time. When darkness fell, I prepared to leave. Cornelia ordered Felix to give me a lamp. Take the casket. Perhaps it should stay here for now? No. She looked at me sternly. I kept what should have been yours for 1 year too long. I took the casket. It was heavier than it looked, not because of the gold, because of everything inside it. Years, memory, recognition, the right not to feel as if I had been thrown out of my own life. At the door, Cornelia stopped me. Come next week. If you want me to. I do not want if. I want you to come. I nodded. I will. She was silent a moment, then added more softly, It has been empty here without you. I found no words. I simply embraced her. Outside the evening was cool. Pompeii murmured with its night voices. Merchants arguing somewhere, drunken laughter from a nearby street, a cart creaking over stone. I walked back to my little room above the dyer's workshop. Around my neck lay the silver chain with the bronze wedding ring. On the finger of my left hand, the blue stone caught the light. In my arms was Cornelia's casket. No, mine now. I had thought divorce had taken everything from me. My husband, my home, my name, the woman who had become almost a mother. It turned out that men do not take everything when they leave. Sometimes a woman remains, not because she must, not because of blood, not because the law commands it, but because once she chose you as her own, and she never changed her mind. At the door of my room, I stopped, drew the chain from under my cloak, and looked at the ring. For a year, I had carried it like a stone. Now, it had become a memory, not of being abandoned, but of the fact that there had been good, and that life does not end after pain. The next morning, I went to the forum with my back straight. People looked at the ring with the blue stone. Some recognized it. They whispered. I heard Cornelia's name. I heard Titus's name. I heard Livia's name. And for the first time in a year, I did not care. Because I was no longer the woman quietly erased from someone else's house. I was Junia, the one who had been chosen.